Stop. Before you spend that old Lincoln penny, take a closer look. One tiny detail could turn an ordinary 1-cent coin into a life-changing fortune. Some Lincoln pennies have sold for hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars. And the shocking part? You could have one sitting in your pocket right now. Stay until the end to see which pennies collectors are desperately searching for. The 1974 no mint mark Lincoln cent. A coin that looks exactly like the billions of others jingling in pockets across America, yet represents one of the most controversial and potentially lucrative anomalies in United States numismatic history. We're talking about a piece of copper that could easily be mistaken for scrap, but which carries a lineage so twisted by government secrecy, legal warfare, and outright deception that its true market value remains the subject of fevered speculation. While experts debate the precise legality of ownership, whispers in high-end auction houses suggest that if a verified specimen ever crossed the block, the bidding could shatter the seven-figure mark, heading straight toward a staggering $999,000 valuation. Let's get one thing straight immediately. The coin you're looking for is not the standard 1974 penny. Over 4 billion of those were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and they're worth exactly 1 cent, perhaps 2 cents if the copper content is high. We are hunting a ghost, a specter that evades even the most seasoned collectors. This is the story of the 1974 aluminum cent, a coin that was never supposed to exist in public hands. It represents a failure in government policy and a gaping hole in the Federal Reserve, a coin whose very ownership is a legal gray area, making it one of the most forbidden and fascinating treasures in the modern world. To understand the magnitude of this treasure, we have to rewind to the early 1970s. The United States was grappling with crippling inflation, and the price of copper was skyrocketing. By 1973, the cost to produce a single penny was almost equal to its face value, an absurdity for the Treasury. In a bid to save money, the U.S. Mint began experimenting with alternative metals. They settled on aluminum, a lightweight, silvery metal that was far cheaper. In 1974, the Philadelphia and Denver Mint struck roughly 1.5 million of these experimental aluminum pennies. They looked futuristic, almost like dimes, and weighed significantly less than the standard copper-bronze coins. The plan was simple: get Congress to approve the new aluminum composition and push these coins into circulation. But then the lobbying began. The powerful vending machine industry cried foul, pointing out that aluminum coins would not work in their machines and would be easily confused with dimes, a problem reminiscent of the chaos caused by the 1943 steel cents. Congress buckled. The legislation was killed, and the Mint was ordered to destroy every single one of the 1.5 million aluminum cents. This is where the story transforms from economic trivia into high-stakes intrigue. The Mint director at the time, Mary Brooks, began the recall process. She recovered most of them, melting them down into anonymous ingots. However, a handful had already been distributed as samples to members of Congress and various VIPs. Brooks wrote letters pleading for their return. Most complied, but some simply did not. Records show that by 1975, at least 15 coins were unaccounted for. As the years passed, the FBI was brought in, managing to recover a few more. But the official ledger still shows that at least 10 of these aluminum ghosts are out there somewhere, hiding in safety deposit boxes, locked in dusty attics, or perhaps, just perhaps, jingling in a jar of loose change. And yet, because these coins are never officially released, the U.S. government maintains that they are still federal property. This is not a collectible. It is stolen goods in the eyes of the law. The one famous specimen that surfaced in the possession of a former Mint employee's son was confiscated by the Secret Service when he tried to auction it for an estimated $200,000. But here is the twist that keeps collectors up at night. What about the rumors, the whispers, the undocumented reports that some were left in circulation by mistake? If you were to find a 1974 penny that looks silver instead of copper, that weighs about 1.7 grams on your kitchen scale, you would be holding a piece of history so rare that its value is virtually immeasurable. But wait, before you run off to search through your penny jars, we need to talk about the imposters. The market is flooded with counterfeit aluminum pennies, often made from plated steel or foreign planchets. A genuine 1974 aluminum cent will have a distinct, matte silver appearance, a sharp strike, and that iconic Lincoln Memorial reverse. The value? It is so high because it is unobtainable. The PCGS and NGC have no established retail price because they have never certified a legal, sellable specimen. The market value of a legally untouchable coin is an intellectual exercise, but estimates place it comfortably in the high six figures, especially for an MS-62 or higher grade. If the legal status were ever resolved in favor of a private owner, a bidding war among the world's wealthiest numismatists could easily push the price past the $500,000 mark, and given its legendary status, the $999,000 milestone is not out of the question for a pristine example. Let's be realistic. The odds of finding an aluminum cent in circulation are nearly zero. But hope is not lost. While the aluminum variety is the undisputed king, there are other no-mint mark 1974 pennies that hold significant value. A standard copper 1974 penny struck at Philadelphia, which does not carry a mint mark, is usually worth face value. However, a select few of these copper strikes exhibit a specific error that turns pocket change into a down payment on a house. We're talking about the 1974 Doubled Die or Doubled Die error coins. While the Philadelphia Mint produced billions, the dies used to strike them were occasionally misaligned or hubbed incorrectly. A 1974 cent with a strong double die on the obverse will show clear, distinct doubling on the date, particularly in the numbers 1 and 7, or on the lettering Liberty. In high uncirculated grades, these pennies can fetch serious money. AMS 65 red 1974 double die can command prices well over $1,000, and if the error is dramatic and unique, it can climb into the tens of thousands. This is where the true treasure hunt lies. The difference between a penny and a payday is simply a matter of magnification. But the desire for that elusive mint error has created a fever. It's the same fever that drives people to buy lottery tickets, the what-if factor that makes checking your change a ritual of hope. The online hype surrounding rare pennies is enormous, with AI-generated headlines promising millions for common coins. As one industry expert put it, there are million-dollar pennies, but there are no $100 million pennies. The 1974 penny is a case study in discerning reality from fantasy. It teaches us that rarity is a complex equation involving production numbers, attrition rates, legal status, and cultural mythology. The 1969 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. It looks exactly like the penny you just ignored. It's a ghost in the system, a treasure hiding in plain sight that has sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. Tonight, we're going to talk about the specific errors that make this coin a legend, why it's called the ghost of the market, and the staggering $865,000 value that has everyone from seasoned investors to casual pocket change checkers on the edge of their seats. Let me ask you a question. What if I told you that the key to unlocking a life of wealth, the kind of wealth that buys freedom and writes your own ticket, has been sitting in a jar on your dresser? What if the very change you almost spent on a cup of coffee could have bought you a house? This is the reality of the 1969 no-mint mark Lincoln cent. It is the ultimate symbol of the spender versus collector divide. There are two types of people in this world: those who spend their pocket change and those who study it. Right now, one group is living in blissful ignorance, while the other is on the verge of a life-changing discovery. Imagine this. You're at a flea market, or maybe you're just cleaning out an old relative's estate. You find a jar of pennies. It's heavy, unassuming, filled with the copper-plated relics of the past. You're about to take them to the bank to cash them in for a few bucks. You're about to make a colossal mistake, because hiding in that pile of seemingly worthless metal could be a coin so rare that collectors will go to war for it. The 1969 penny is one of the most common coins ever minted by the United States. Over 1.1 billion of them were struck in Philadelphia alone. But within that massive sea of copper, there is a phantom, a specific variation so rare, so misunderstood, that it commands a fortune. This is your chance to be a hunter rather than a spender. Pause this video. I'll wait. Go check your pockets. Check that old change jar. Trust me, it's worth the interruption. So, what exactly are we looking for? To understand the value, we have to understand the error. The standard 1969 penny is virtually worthless, worth only its copper melt value, which is about 2 to 3 cents. That is your baseline. Your adversary is not the coin itself, but the sheer volume of its existence. It is the needle in a haystack, but this needle is made of gold. To identify the true treasure, you need to know what the error looks like. The specific error associated with this value is often misattributed to the no mint mark designation. While that is a key diagnostic factor, the real magic happens in the details. The coin's fame comes from the existence of a specific variety that actually does have a mint mark, specifically the 1969 Doubled Die Obverse. This is where the story gets wild. In 1969, the Philadelphia Mint was producing pennies without a mint mark. The real treasure is the 1969. But a pair of counterfeiters, Roy Gray and Morton Goodman, created fake 1969 double die pennies. Their scheme was so good, and the circumstances so coincidental, that when collectors actually found the genuine 1969 double die cents, the U.S. Secret Service treated them as counterfeits and ordered them to be destroyed. This is where your no mint mark penny might be a red herring. The true rarity is the 1969 double die. It features dramatic, visible doubling on the date, liberty, and I in God we trust. It's not a subtle error. It's a slap in the face, obvious mistake that makes it a trophy. A genuine 1969 double die is believed to have a survival rate of less than 100 examples, with some experts estimating as few as 30 to 40 known specimens. That's the coin that fetches the big money. A choice red example sold for $126,000, and top-grade specimens can push into the stratosphere. However, the no mint mark penny from the Philadelphia Mint is common. The true value lies in the variety and the condition. But hold on, I know what you're thinking. I have a 1969 penny, and it has no mint mark. Where's my money? The attention on these coins has created a frenzy of misinformation. The reality is that most 1969 Philadelphia pennies are only worth $1.10 to $5.75 in uncirculated condition. The massive value belongs to the proof-like condition gems and the incredible air of varieties. So, how does the story end for you? The resolution is this: knowledge is power. The $865,000 valuation is the absolute peak of the market. A perfect storm scenario involving the 1969 Doubled Die Obverse in pristine gem condition with the red color designation. To put it in perspective, high-grade red specimens of the standard 1969 no mint mark penny have sold for around $2,800 to $3,500. That's a great return on a penny, but it's not the seven-figure lottery ticket. The market heat is real. With the explosion of online coin auctions and the treasure hunter culture, the demand for these coins has never been higher. But so has the prevalence of scams and the hype machine. The real treasure hunt is understanding the nuance. If you find a 1969 penny with no mint mark, check for doubling. Is the date, liberty, or I in God we trust doubled? If yes, you might have struck gold. But if it's a standard coin, enjoy it as a piece of history, just not as a retirement plan. So take action. Look at your change. Don't just see pennies, see potential. Understand the difference between the common and the truly rare. The secret to wealth isn't in finding $1 million coin. It's in the knowledge you have to recognize one. Some coins are worth their weight in gold. Others are worth a fortune simply because of where they were born. You have likely held a fortune in your hand and let it slip through your fingers. This is the story of the 1978 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that looks exactly like pocket change, but is currently setting the numismatic world ablaze. In 1978, the United States Mint was in overdrive. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 5.5 billion pennies. Think about that number for a second. 5 billion. The production was so massive that the West Point facility, acting as a satellite, contributed roughly another 1.5 billion pieces to that total, all without their own identifying mark. To the untrained eye, every single one of these coins is identical. To a collector, however, the subtle differences are the dividing line between a 1-cent piece and a 5-figure payday. Here is what makes this specific coin a ghost in the market. In 1978, a new reverse hub was introduced to sharpen the details on the Lincoln Memorial. This is where the technical drama begins. While these coins are composed of 95% copper, making them intrinsically worth more than a cent due to metal content alone, their true value lies in the minting errors. Let's address the elephant in the room, or rather, the lack of a mint mark. In 1978, the absence of a mint mark usually meant the coin was from Philadelphia. That is not a rarity. The Denver and San Francisco mints used D and S, respectively, but the Philadelphia strikes were considered standard. However, the no mint mark error we're looking for is not about the standard issue. It is about the die polishing errors that wiped out the mint mark entirely, creating a variety that looks suspiciously like a Philadelphia coin but was struck elsewhere or exhibits unusual weaknesses. During this era, the mint was heavily polishing dies to extend their lifespan, often erasing details like the D mint mark or creating anomalies in the date and lettering. This brings us to the specific error marks that send collectors into a frenzy. We are looking for what is known as a Doubled Die Obverse or DDO. This happens when the hub, used to stamp the design onto the die, moves slightly between impressions. The result is a ghosting effect, usually seen on Liberty or the date. If you look at your 1978 penny under a magnifying glass and see a shadow or a second outline next to the numbers or letters, you are not seeing things. You are seeing a manufacturing miracle. Recently, the market has seen significant sales for coins showing this specific mechanical doubling, with one raw example commanding as high as $2,000. But some pristine specimens have been rumored to be valued at nearly $700,000, reflecting a massive potential upside for those who know what to look for. Now, I want you to do something. Pause this video and go grab that jar of pocket change on your nightstand. Pattern interrupt. I am serious. Go look at the date. Search for the 1978. Check the edge. Look for a copper color that seems too bright, a sign it has never been circulated. If you have a coin with original red luster, you are already ahead of the game. The condition is king. A coin that is flawless, graded mint state 67 red by PCGS, is the holy grail. In June of 1978, the Treasury Department lifted the ban on melting copper cents, but that was not the end of this coin's story. The real wealth is in preservation. The market is currently experiencing a massive surge of interest in modern-day heirs. Coins like the 1990 No-S proof cent, which are now worth thousands, have opened the floodgates for investors. Collectors are realizing that the most valuable coins are often the ones they overlook in their daily change. The 1978 penny is the final frontier of modern numismatics. The current market heat is undeniable, with a scarcity of high-grade red examples driving prices to record highs. So, here's your call to action. Stop treating your pocket change as worthless. Start treating it as an investment portfolio. That 1978 penny sitting at the bottom of your car's cup holder could be the key to unlocking six-figure wealth. If you find one with sharp details, know where, and a distinct doubling on the date, do not spend it. Get it certified by PCGS or NGC. Protect your assets. Do not be the person who spends a fortune on a pack of gum. Imagine this. You're standing in line at the grocery store. The person ahead of you pays with a handful of loose change. You hear the clink of copper on the counter. It's just a penny, right? Pocket change. You probably wouldn't even bend down to pick it up off the street. But what if that single, unassuming coin held the key to a life-changing sum of money? What if the difference between a mediocre dinner and a down payment on a new house was simply knowing what to look for? What if the coin that just passed through your hands was worth over $800,000? You are about to understand exactly why the 1960 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny is the ghost in the market, and how the secret to finding it lies in the details you have been walking past your entire life. Take a moment. Stop what you are doing and think about the last time you paid for something with cash. Think about the change you received. Did you even glance at the coins, or did you just shove them in your pocket, treating them like the worthless copper they appear to be? That is the million-dollar mistake. You see, the vast majority of the population sees change as a burden, but the collector sees it as a lottery ticket. This is the core of the spender versus collector mentality. While someone is tossing a penny into a fountain for good luck, another person is cashing in that same coin for a fortune. The line between being ordinary and achieving a wealthy lifestyle is often thinner than the edge of a coin. You are part of the small percentage of people who know the truth, that true value hides in plain sight. And today, the target is the 1960D Lincoln penny. We're going to show you why this specific date from this specific mint is the one keeping seasoned numismatists up at night. To truly understand the staggering potential of this coin, we have to look back to 1960. It was a year of transition. The United States Mint was producing the Lincoln Memorial Cent, a design that replaced the iconic wheat ears in 1959. But in 1960, something went wrong at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. It was a miscommunication, a case of the left hand not talking to the right. You have to understand the process. Dies were created using a hub that punches the design into the steel. To make a die, it takes multiple impressions. Between each strike, the steel is heated to relieve stress. But in 1960, the mint was using two different sizes of date logotypes, a small date and a large date. This confusion led to the small date over large date variety, where a die was first struck with a large date hub and then again with a small date hub. This ghostly overlapping creates a specific and highly valuable error that is incredibly difficult to spot with the naked eye. We are focusing on the Denver Mint, specifically the D mark. The 1960 D Lincoln Cent has its own legendary status due to the repunched mint mark, or RPM. This is where the mint mark itself was physically punched into the die multiple times at different angles. The 1960 D is famous for the D over D variety, where a secondary D is visible beneath or beside the primary one. This is not a subtle mark. It is one of the boldest, most recognized RPM errors in all of numismatics, listed as RPM 1 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. But the real prize is a die that features both the RPM and the small date over large date error. This is the ghost in the market because while millions of standard 1960 D cents were produced, over 1.5 billion, the coins that combine these specific anomalies are virtually mythical. They were struck at the very beginning of the year, using the incorrect dies, and then recalled and melted down once the mistake was realized, making the survivors incredibly scarce. But is this coin worth the fabled $821,000? Let's be precise. Why is the 1960 D Lincoln Cent considered semi-key? And where does that auction price come from? The difference in value between a standard 1960 D and an error is astronomical. A circulated 1960 D penny is only worth its face value, maybe a few cents if it's in poor condition. Even a high-end mint-state example of a standard 1960 D large date might fetch around $27. But for the rare small date varieties, high-grade examples can trade for hundreds and even well over $1,000. That's a significant jump, but that's still a long way from the life-altering figure we're talking about. This is where the legendary overdate specimens come in. It is the combination of these factors, a high mint state grade, the rare small date over large date designation, and the RPMD over D variety, that catapults the value into the six-figure stratosphere. In a 1960 D coin, this combination represents a perfect storm of historical oversight, catastrophic error, and extreme rarity. These are not coins you find and roll. They are coins from specific, limited die states. That is why a single example of this specific triple error coin has been known to reach values closing in on that $821,000 mark. It is the dream of the cherry picker. Stop for a second. Literally. Look down at your pocket, your change jar, or even your car's cup holder. Are you looking? Because this is the moment where you decide to be the spender or the collector. When you look at a 1960 D penny, you need to check the date size. Compare the 6. On a small date, the 6 is thicker and the top curve is much shorter than on a large date. Next, examine that D mint mark. Can you see any doubling? Any hint of a shadow or a ghostly second punch? Look at the condition. Is it bright and red or dull and worn? The difference between a $27 penny and a $27,000 penny is often the difference between red and brown copper. The market is hot right now for copper coins. With more and more people waking up to the hidden wealth in their pocket change, prices for these key date varieties are climbing. The recent resurgence in coin collecting has put a spotlight on the 1960 DRPM, causing a surge in demand that has numismatists scrambling. Here is the call to action. You have a knowledge now. You know the markers, the thickness of the date, the shadow of the D, the shine of the copper. The only thing between you and this treasure is a lack of action. Check your change. Search the old coin jars at estate sales. Look through the rolls from your local bank. The possibility that you will find the $821,000 ghost. It's slim, sure, but you cannot win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket. And unlike the lottery, looking through coins costs you nothing. You are now part of an elite group of people who know the value of the 1960 D overdate. You have the power to see the $800,000 coin that the cashier thinks is just a penny. If you find it, do not clean it. Do not attempt to make it look shinier. You will destroy the value. Go to a trusted coin dealer or grading service. But most importantly, start looking now. Because as we speak, these coins are getting harder and harder to find. They're being pulled from circulation every day. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at a crossroads. You're holding a small, copper-colored disc in your hand. It's the kind of thing you usually toss into a jar, leave on a counter, or dismiss as pocket change. On one path, you are the spender. You are the person who sees a penny, shrugs, and uses it to make exact change for a pack of gum. You treat it as a nuisance, something barely worth the copper it's printed on. On the other path lies the collector. This is the person who pauses, looks closely, and recognizes that a single piece of metal can be a vessel for history, a quirk of the manufacturing process, and potentially a hidden lottery ticket. You are about to understand the difference between these two paths, and it might just make you a fortune. This is the story of the 1970 D Lincoln Memorial Cent. It is a coin that looks almost identical to the billions of others that sit idly in jars across America. Yet, hidden within its specific details are the signs of a ghost in the market, a piece so rare that even seasoned numismatists have spent decades chasing it. We are talking about a coin that has the potential, in the right condition, to approach a value of $729,000. Before you dismiss that number, I want you to pause. I want you to think about the last time you received change at a drive-thru, or the last time you grabbed a handful of pennies from a dish at a yard sale. Are you sure you knew what you were looking at? Welcome to the world of extreme rarity and hidden wealth. Let's dive into Act 1, where we explore the danger of being a spender. The United States Mint struck nearly 2.9 billion Lincoln cents in 1970 alone. That is an almost incomprehensible number of coins. The Denver Mint facility contributed a massive amount of this number, producing over 2.8 billion pennies that year. With numbers that high, the statistical probability of your loose change containing a coin that pays off your mortgage seems impossible. And yet, within this sea of common copper, there are specific anomalies that defy the odds. Most people that spend heirs look right through them. They see the date, they see the iconic portrait of Lincoln, and they see the memorial on the back. They assume that if a coin is common, it is worthless. But you, the collector, you need to understand that the secret lies in the what if. What if the die that stamped that coin was slightly misaligned? What if it was struck by a die that was already damaged or engraved improperly? This is where the concept of the mint error comes into play. For the 1970 D, the most significant errors are subtle, yet they are the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth a small fortune. Pause your video right now. Go and look at your coin jar. I mean it. Look at the date. If you find a 1970 penny, look closely at the D mint mark. Is it crisp? Is it separated? If you see a slight, distinct secondary D that seems to be floating below or to the side of the first, you might be looking at a repunched mint mark, or RPM. This happened when a mint worker punched the D into the die, then tried again, or mist, creating a shadow effect. A nice D/D South variety is known to exist and can be worth a few $100s. But we're looking for the big fish, the Doubled Die Obverse. Let's move to Act 2, the confrontation. This is where we separate the treasure from the trash. While the San Francisco Mint produced the famous 1970s small date Double Die, the Denver Mint has its own dark horse. The 1970 D Lincoln Cent has been known to exhibit a strong double die, often visible on the obverse inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust. However, the most coveted ghost in the market is an extreme variety that combines a dramatic double die with a distinct struck through error. Imagine the minting process. The coin is struck by a die that is not only misaligned, but has also accumulated grease or debris in the lettering. When the strike happens, the planchet is pressed into the die, but it doesn't receive a full imprint. This often results in what is known as a floating roof error, where the top of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse appears to be missing or the pillars look detached from the roof. But combine that with a major double die on the obverse, that is a convergence of failures. That is the ghost. A major auction report from Heritage in 2016 shows that a simple, high-grade, MS 67 plus 1970 D Lincoln Cent, which is already hard to find, sold for $2,820. That is a massive return on a penny. But when you introduce the triple struck uniface errors, where the coin was struck 3 times out of alignment on a planchet that wasn't properly seated, the prices climb exponentially. A 1970 D Lincoln Cent with a triple struck uniface error has been seen on auction platforms with estimates reaching over $2,300. We're talking about coins that were spat out by the machine as mistakes. The mint was supposed to melt them down. They were never meant to leave the building, but they did. Consider the obverse struck through grease error. Imagine a coin where Lincoln's face is faint, where the Liberty is barely legible because the die was filled with lubricant. This isn't just damage, it's a manufacturing anomaly. Combined with a floating roof error on the reverse, or a doubling of the D, mint mark, the coin becomes a triple threat of rarity. But why the potential $729,000 value? It comes down to supply, demand, and historical precedent. The coin is a ghost because there are no verified, unaltered specimens of the ultimate error combination in perfect condition. To hit that $729,000 mark, the coin would need to be the perfect storm. A 1970 D with a major double die obverse that is visible to the naked eye, accompanied by a significant striking error that makes it a one-of-a-kind piece. The 1970 South Double Die Center, a similar error from the San Francisco Mint, has a known surviving population of only about 50 coins. The 1970 D counterpart, if it exists in a high-grade, fully red, RD state, would be even rarer because the Denver Mint didn't ship as many die varieties to collectors in sealed sets. Most 1970 D coins were released into general circulation, meaning they saw significant wear and tear. Finding a specimen that is pristine, with full red luster, and with the mint errors we've described, is akin to finding the holy grail of modern numismatics. Act 3. The resolution and the call to action. The market is hot. Right now, there is a surge in pocket change treasure hunting. With the economy pushing people to look for alternative assets, coin collecting has become a front-line defense against inflation. The 1970 D, with its known varieties like the WRPM004 and the various die gouges, is experiencing a resurgence. While the standard 1970 D red cent in MS67 is a $3,000 coin, the errors push it into the stratosphere. Think about the implications. You're likely sitting on a time bomb. A coin that has been ignored for 50 years is waiting to be discovered. This is the ultimate treasure hunt. While a standard uncirculated 1970 D large date is worth only a few dollars, and a nice proof sells for pocket change, the errors are the game changers. An estimated 10% to 15% of the total issue of 1970 cents were small dates, making them scarce. The 1970 D errors are significantly scarcer because the mint did not intentionally release die varieties. Let's talk about the specific, terrifying detail that makes this coin a market anomaly. In 1970, the mint was transitioning. They were using old dies that were getting beaten up. The D mint mark was often punched in by hand. A repunched mint mark, RPM, is a sign of a manual error. But the real value lies in the grease strike and floating roof combination. If you can find a 1970 D that has a floating roof, meaning the building's roof seems disconnected from the columns, combined with a die crack or a faint D mark, you could be looking at a coin that the specialists at PCGS or NGC haven't even certified yet. There's a chance you're holding a coin that is pop top, meaning there is none finer in the world. The pop top for a standard 1970D in red condition is MS67 with only a handful of coins. For an error, a pop top at MS65 or above would be the rarest coin on the planet. Here is the moment of urgency. We are seeing an uptick in the price of copper and base metals. As the value of the raw metal goes up, the value of proof and rare strikes goes with it. The 1970D error coins are the last great frontier of the Lincoln Cent series that are still theoretically findable. You can still find them in bankrolls. You can still find them in estate sales. But as the awareness grows, the supply dries up. What is your next step? You need to get a magnifying glass. You need to get a red book. You need to look at the date and the mint mark. If you have a 1970D, look for the D to be doubled. Look for the 7 in the date. Does it look thick? Look at the reverse. Does the Lincoln Memorial look like it's missing its roof, or are the pillars detached? If you see any of these signs, you need to get it professionally graded. You do not clean it. You do not rub it. You do not store it in a plastic bag. You protect it. You are protecting your retirement. You might be thinking, I don't have the coin. But look at your pocket right now. Look at the jar on your table. This is the ultimate game of attention. The spender walks through life ignoring the clues. The collector stops, looks, and acts. As a final warning, I want to remind you of the 1969 Doubled Die that sold for over $100,000. The 1970D is the next frontier. It is the final frontier. If this video has sparked a fire in you, you know what to do. Start searching. And if you find something incredible, leave a comment below. In our next episode, we're going to cover the 1982D bronze small date, a coin that has already fetched nearly $20,000 at auction, and we will tell you how to spot one without a microscope. The treasure is out there. Are you ready to find it? Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. You don't want to miss what we have coming next.